What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now today I have a pretty cool unboxing and first impressions of this boot right here, the Puma Ultra 5 Carbon. Now this was a limited edition release, and so it comes in a pretty cool box. You guys can see it's an all black box. It does have like Ultra, the Puma logo. It says there Ultra Carbon and this kind of glossy finish. For the most part it's all like a matte black all around. And you guys see here is the tag. So yeah, Puma Ultra 5 Carbon. I'm actually pretty excited that I got these boots. They weren't that hard to get, but if you go back right now to soccer.com, they're basically sold out. You can't really get them anymore. So I guess that's pretty cool that I was able to get the limited edition release of this boot. And this is kind of the first colorway. I'm not exactly sure if there will be more. And then you see right there, a little card. Pull the box out, and there's a little thing they have to take out. And then you have kind of a string bag that greets you, and it's a black string bag, and again it has like the gloss details, but it's a Puma, and then I'm pretty sure it says Ultra Carbon. Yep. So, and this material is actually, it's plastic, but it kind of feels a little bit different. I don't know, but a nice cool string bag to go along with it. And I'm guessing the reason why they're using like black and like matte black is because obviously the carbon fiber. And then here you just have the boots, and you open it, and boom, there we have the cleats with the carbon fiber sole plate. This just looks so cool, like a full carbon sole plate. Oh man, we haven't seen these in such a long time, and this just takes it to an extreme. But yeah, and then obviously the boot itself with the upper looks pretty cool. So I'll just take these out of the box. All right, so this was like the note that was on like the unboxing. It says this. You guys can pause and read it. But yeah. Alright guys, so here we have the Puma Ultra 5 Carbon in hand, and these just look crazy. These are so cool in person, and like in pictures, like when I first saw these, like the prototypes and all that stuff, I was super excited. I'm like, oh my god, is Puma actually gonna drop a full carbon sole plate? And they actually did. This was a limited edition release. I'm not exactly sure like what's going on with Puma in terms of, like the models. Like I don't know if this will be like a standard model that you can get. And then I know Puma will have like a normal sole plate, like a normal plastic sole plate instead of a carbon sole plate. So I don't know if this is just like a one-off or one limited edition release. I'm not sure if they're gonna make a full carbon sole plate for every like colorway pack. I'm not exactly sure. Puma haven't like specified anything, and they haven't really said when the general release is coming out. But I know for a fact that Puma will be releasing like a normal like plastic sole plate. I'm not exactly sure if the studs and everything will be the same, but regardless, it's still pretty cool that Puma came out with a full carbon sole plate. So if you guys weren't able to get this boot, don't worry. I'm pretty sure Puma will eventually release another like colorway. Alright, so we're just gonna take a look at the boot. I'll talk about the upper, the sole plate, the stud pattern, the fit, the feel. But yeah, we'll just start off with the upper. And the upper itself, it is way softer than the previous model and the first Ultra Ultimate. It's just so much pliable, and it just feels way better in the hand, like straight out of the box. Like the Puma Ultra, like the first one, the one that I have right there in that little corner, that was like an okay boot. The upper wasn't the softest, but once you kind of got playtime in it and the upper did get softer, it felt alright. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't as plasticky. The second generation of that boot honestly wasn't my favorite. Like they added kind of power tape to the upper, and it just made it stiff, and it wasn't as soft. And I feel like the fit wasn't as good, especially in the heel. Like I did try those boots on, and I didn't really like those. And then this generation, this is such a like huge improvement. Obviously I haven't worn the boot itself, but just the feeling of the upper is just so much softer. It feels really nice. It feels premium. This is exactly what we expect from Puma. You guys can see it's kind of like a grit texture all throughout, especially here where this material is. It is pretty thin. It is on the thinner side, which is very good. Like on the inside, there isn't really any liner. For the most part, it's kind of exposed like material. Hopefully you guys can see there isn't like a suede liner or anything. It's basically that material exposed, which is pretty cool. So all the structure that you're getting is basically from like the upper, and like you guys can see these like fused materials on the inside. There is like a little like internal cage that kind of adds support to the upper itself. And in here you guys can see here in the heel, it does kind of say power tape, grip control, and then the carbon speed system. So I'm guessing like this internal, like you guys can see here, and it's kind of like in white on the inside. It is like power tape, but it doesn't feel as like stiff as like other models that we've seen it in. It's a little bit more flexible, but I'm still pretty sure it will add structure. You guys can see it's in the lacing system itself. Not all of them, but just here, these two in the back piece. So I feel like that will help a little bit with like adding like structure to the upper and when you're cutting across. Here in the toe box, you know, it is softer, so I don't think there is really any power tape. I think the cage here is a different material. And I'll grab my flashlight real quick. Light here, you guys can see here, you guys see the internal cage here that kind of helps and adds structure to the upper itself. And then I guess here you guys can see like the power tape. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure if this like material here is different or the same. It does feel a lot softer. This one, it doesn't feel firmer, but it does feel like it's a little bit more structured than in the toe box. This one just feels a little bit softer here. So I don't think it's the same material, but obviously that will still add support to the upper itself. The upper itself does have some like texture. You guys can hear it, like these lines and ridges. It's not overly like noticeable. Like obviously you feel it in hand. I'm not exactly sure how big of an impact it's gonna have on the ball. I don't think it's gonna have like a huge impact on touch. There's like this grippy coating on top of it, and that's basically this one, the Grip Control Pro, and it is pretty sticky. It does feel sticky to the hand. Pretty sure that's the same thing that they had in the Puma Ultra. There was like a little bit of a sticky texture, and that kind of went away as you were playing with the boots. Like you felt it sometimes, sometimes you didn't. Like, but here it's kind of more noticeable, especially here on like this toe box. Here, yes, you do feel it, and so I feel like it will, you know, have some grip on the ball. I don't think it's the same as like a Phantom GX2. Like, I actually feel like it will grip the ball pretty well. And then here we have the lacing system with a one-piece upper, which is like the standard material. You guys can see this pinstripe here, and that's kind of this fuse overlay, but it's not really restrictive in any way. I honestly thought it wasn't going to allow the boot itself to stretch, but it does stretch pretty well. It doesn't really get in the way at all from like the middle part opening, so that's pretty nice. And then you do have like a central lacing system that is pretty deep, so I feel like for the most part you're going to get a good fit. Here in the heel, it is like an internal heel counter, and yeah, it's pretty stiff, feels pretty good. In the heel here, we have like an ortholite like padding in the heel, and the padding itself here on the sides, it feels pretty nice, but here in the back heel, I'm not really convinced. There isn't enough padding for my liking. Like, it looks like there's a good amount, but honestly there isn't really. I feel like the Puma Ultra, the first one, it did have like a really nice like padded heel. It did take a little to break in, but after like, you know, you worn them for a good amount of times, they kind of did get softer, and it just locked your heel in pretty nicely. This one, just a little bit less padding, but obviously we'll see how they fit and feel. And the boot overall doesn't really have like a lightweight feel. Like, I have held other boots that do feel a bit lighter. For example, here I have this boot, the New Balance Tequila, and this boot just feels a lot lighter than this one right here, which is kind of crazy because you would think carbon fiber, and obviously carbon fiber is known for being lightweight and still being very strong, but it's not as lightweight. Like, the New Balance Tequila feels a lot lighter in hand. And I feel like Puma isn't really focused on this boot being lightweight. It's kind of focused on just being responsive and having the most traction and just having like a nice snapback feel. I feel like that's what they're mostly focused on. So I don't think they focus on weight here. And here we have obviously the carbon sole plate, which looks crazy. And yes, it's a full carbon sole plate. It's very, very stiff. Actually, here in this boot, it tells me not to bend it with my hand, just because it can, like, maybe, I guess, crack the boot. I don't know. So I'm not gonna bend it all that much, but it is very, very stiff. Like, usually it's easy to flex the sole plate, but this one, like, it has no give whatsoever. It's way stiffer than the sole plate found on the Adidas X Crazy Fast. But yeah, it is a crazy sole plate. The stud pattern is even crazier. It's like these weird like three-sided studs. I don't even know what the name of the studs are. But yeah, they are on the longer side, which kind of sucks because I won't be able to use these on AG. There's only here two studs for the most part, and then like kind of a little support stud here on the back. But you guys can see it's like a different size, so it's for the most part it's going to be hitting these two. This one's just going to be there. The only thing that sucks is that I don't have a firm ground feel close to me at all. I would have to travel pretty far, and honestly, don't really have time for that. So I will be using these on AG when I do the playtest and like my review. But obviously, I'll be careful. I won't do crazy things, I guess. And plus, I don't really play like for a pro club. That I just go by myself to the field and just train. So obviously, I'll just do whatever I want. But I feel like if you're actually gonna be playing in these, like in a club or a team, and you mainly play on AG, I honestly just wouldn't recommend these just because these are way too long and they look pretty aggressive. But my AG feel, like I have said in the past in my other previous videos, it is on the newer side and it is kind of deep. So that's kind of a good thing. So hopefully it doesn't feel too bad there, but I can see other pitches like being very shallow. This will not be really good at all. So I would not recommend these using them in AG whatsoever, but I will most likely be using it just because, like I said, I just don't have an FG field close to me at all. All right, so now we'll move on to an on-feet portion, and I'll let you guys know how they fit and feel. Alright guys, so here I have the cleats on feet, and I honestly think these are really comfortable and they're way better than the previous model. Like the upper just feels so much softer, so much pliable on feet, and they don't really feel so restrictive. I feel like the previous models, like the uppers were just too plasticky and they felt too stiff. And even though they were like a thin upper, they just weren't as comfortable on feet. Like they did get a little bit more comfortable once you did wear them, but straight out of the box they weren't really that comfortable. And these, like, they're just so much better in terms of like the upper being soft and so much pliable, and they're just so much more comfortable in my opinion. The first thing that I want to talk about is the sizing. Now these, I did go with my usual size 9, but they do run a little bit long. Like I think maybe I could have gone half a size down, but then again I do have a wider foot, so maybe they would have been too tight because right now, like even though I do have a wider foot, like the boot overall doesn't have a very like tight fitting sensation. It is on the slimmer side, but I don't really have any weird spots that are hurting me right now. Like they feel really comfortable in terms of the width. But in terms of the sizing, like I do have a little bit of like that space here. You guys can see like this amount of like space here. But it's kind of weird just because like the toe box itself is kind of lower volume. So even though if I do want to push my toes all the way here on the edge, I feel like that would just be a little too tight just because the toe box kind of does like slant a little and it kind of has just a bit of a lower volume. So I'm not exactly sure if 8.5 would fit me all that well. Maybe they would just be a little too tight. But I feel like for the most part, if you do have like a slim foot, it would be okay going half size down. Or if you do have like space in your cleats right now, then go half size down. But like for me, I think a 9 would be fine. Like I said, I just have a little bit of space here. Obviously, I'm going to use these boots and I'll let you guys know how they perform and if that little bit of extra space is annoying or not. The heel itself, that's another thing that kind of I'm having not issues with, but it does feel a little slick. Like you do feel a little bit of movement just raising my heel up, and I feel like I said there isn't a lot of padding back there, so I feel like it's not really like holding on to my heel all that well. It's not like locked in. It doesn't have like a locked in sensation. Maybe the padding just needs a little bit more time to soften up or something like previous Puma Ultras. But right now there is a little bit of movement, not a crazy amount, but we'll see how they perform in the play test. The sole play itself, like, does have a good amount of stiffness, just me bending my foot right here. But yeah, overall, I feel like the Puma Ultra does have a better like upper, does have a better fit. Even though like the sizing, they did kind of get it wrong. The sizing was fine in the Puma Ultra. The only one that had problems was the Puma Future. And for the most part, I feel like they kind of fit like the Puma Future in terms of the sizing. But because like the shape in the toe is kind of weird, like I said, it does have more like a lower volume fit in the toe. Like there isn't really much space. I don't know. I wish Puma really fixed that with their boots, like having the proper sizing. If Puma had proper sizing, then these boots would be excellent in my opinion, and the Puma Futures as well. They would be pretty good. But yeah, these are very comfortable. You do get a good amount of like space here in the midfoot. They're not super tight, and like I said, because the upper is softer, like it's a little bit more like it adapts to your foot in a type of way just because there isn't really a lot of structure, and because there isn't a lot of structure that actually might impact the performance of this boot.
but obviously I won't know until I try them, so I'll let you guys know in the playtest. Alright guys, so I'll leave you guys with my final thoughts.
Alright guys, so overall the Puma Ultra 5 Carbon is a crazy boot, and I feel like it's not for everyone. If you want a really stiff, responsive sole plate, then go for this boot. But if you're not really into like the stiff responsiveness and you want like a lightweight boot, then maybe just this isn't the boot for you. Just because this boot overall isn't that light, it doesn't really feel lightweight in hand. Like this sole plate kind of has like a nice, like not a heavy feel, but a nice sturdy feel. Like it feels very like it feels solid, if that makes any sense. Like you have something underfoot and it is actually helping you push off. But I feel like the standard model with the plastic sole plate will still be good. Like if it's the same upper, then it's gonna be a very very good boot in my opinion. Like a very good speed boot in 2024. Because this upper is just very soft, and I'm not exactly sure when the standard model will come out. And I'll probably get that boot once it does come out, just because I'm very curious to see if the plastic sole plate is lighter than this boot. Because if that sole plate is lighter, like than this carbon fiber sole plate, then I feel like for the most part that will be the better option in my opinion, just because it does make the boot lighter. And yeah, I'll do my best to do a playtest video for you guys and have it uploaded as fast as I can. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you're notified for the playtest of this boot and future playtests as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.